This is Tiffany Cross, the washed-up former host of The Cross Connection on MSNBC. Recently, Cross appeared on Newsnight with Abby Phillip on CNN and got caught lying in 4K. But first, here's conservative political commentator Pete Seat.
What should be deeply unpopular are the agitators who are trying to harass and intimidate ICE. On this very network during the 4 p.m. Eastern hour, a reporter was on the ground in Minneapolis, and he was explaining what he has seen with his own eyes, that during the day, yes, peaceful protesters exercising their First Amendment right. But what happens when the sun goes down? A new group of people, younger, come out, and in his words, are agitators.
Pete Seat is referring to Shimon Prokupecz, who was reporting outside of the Whipple Federal Building in Minneapolis, where federal agents are being stationed, and he was recapping events from the previous night.
But I just also want to correct something, a complete misrepresentation of what the reporter you were referencing, Shimon, was on ground in Minneapolis, and I saw the stand-up he did in the 4 p.m. Eastern hour. He absolutely did not say what you suggested he did. He was saying what he had been told.
6 hours earlier.
I was talking to a man here, he's older, he told me this. He's like, look, we're older, we're here to protest peacefully. He said then at night what happens is the younger crowd comes out, and that's when the trouble starts. And we saw that last night. But last night, what I witnessed was that many of the people who were out here, and they're not protesters, these are the agitators. They were trying to stop the cars from going in. They were kicking the cars. They were attacking the cars. And this went on for a while.
Now, most people would hear that and say, okay, the reporter saw bad stuff. But Tiffany Cross hears that and says, time to gaslight.
No, he said, I have
seen
this. He
didn't. The audience can look at it.
Agitators.
He didn't. He said
you
he
not
said what
like
he's
that,
been
Tiffany,
told.
but it happened.
It's not about what I'd like, but I think of the liars at the table, I'm probably not in that category.
First of all, even if the reporter hadn't seen it firsthand, what difference does it make? Is Tiffany suggesting that the person that the reporter spoke to is lying? Tiffany's basically calling the reporter a liar, despite the fact that he was on the scene the previous night reporting on the agitators.
We have seen a number of large caravans of vehicles coming in, and then the protesters will start kicking the vehicles, throwing things at the vehicle. Protesters have been kicking cars, throwing things at cars, as there are federal law enforcement vehicles that have been going into this building. And we have watched, and federal law enforcement has done nothing. And here we go. They're starting to throw hold on, let me just come back here. As you can see, basically now they're just deploying tear gas, because what's been happening is that we have more tear gas here. They've been kicking cars. They've been
He said
what
like
he's
been
Tiffany,
told.
but it happened.
It's not about what I'd like, but I think of the liars at the table, I'm probably not in that category. And I'm also not a cult member where I regurgitate every talking point
Gladly
from the
we'll
GOP.
show you the transcript and the commercial break.
Great.
Now, maybe you could argue that Tiffany Cross misunderstood Shimon Prokupecz or didn't see the several segments of his reporting on the agitators outside the Whipple Federal Building from the previous day. But of course, that wouldn't discount her shitty attitude. And I should note that for the remaining 51 minutes of the show, no one outside of Pete Seat bothered to push back on Tiffany's bullshit. And this is a problem. Not a single production staffer at CNN Studio New York attempted to make an on-air correction. And of course, Abby Phillip, who's supposed to be the moderator of the discussion, wasn't going to attempt to set the record straight because she never, ever pushes back on the radical liberals on her panel. But after the clip of Tiffany's bullshit went viral on X, she was forced to record a video response.
I wanted to come on really quickly and correct something. I was on CNN's Newsnight with Abby Phillip last night, and I was sitting opposite this guy, Pete, whose last name I don't remember, I can't recall, but he's a MAGA loyalist.
I didn't remember his name. Oh, spare me, you sat next to him for the entire hour. This is the classic, I'm too important to know who you are act. It's petty, it's childish, and honestly, It's indicative of her character, or the lack thereof.
And he was referencing CNN reporter Shimon Priakupez, and he said, even Shimon Priakupez said that he had seen agitators among protesters in Minneapolis.
She didn't even take 5 seconds to learn how to pronounce Shimon Prokopez's name right. In fact, she knew that she said it wrong, but she wouldn't even bother to re-record her 3-minute response.
And because I had seen the same live shot that Pete was referencing, I very strongly said he did not say that. He was referencing what he had been told. And so when we got off air, I came home and looked at the transcript because I was, righteous in what I'd said, and I wanted to make sure I was accurate. And I was actually inaccurate. I was wrong.
Righteous? No, she was arrogant. There's a difference. Tiffany was so desperate to dunk on the mega loyalist that she hallucinated an entire alternate reality where the reporter didn't say what he clearly said.
As a journalist, I'd never go on air and intentionally trying to misrepresent something or misrepresent the truth.
And let's not forget, Tiffany, that you called Pete C. a liar and a cult member on national television for stating facts. So a post about your whoopsie on social media doesn't quite cover the character assassination, now does it?
We already are. You keep smirking, Scott, but I mean, you say on this show routinely horrific things. You make jokes about people in prison in El Salvador.
And?
We try to see the humanity in people, and it doesn't seem like people on the right side are capable of that. I think this is unfortunately what a lot of the people in America voted for. I think it looks bad to people with a sense of moral compass. I don't know that we have that a lot among Trump supporters, unfortunately.
So on one hand, Tiffany claims that she tries to see the humanity in people, but then claims that 77 million people who voted for Trump not only lack humanity, but also a moral compass. And then she continues spouting her bullshit without any fact-checking whatsoever from the producers.
This is what people voted for. We knew very well who Trump was during the first term, where he had the family separation policies, where he was putting children in cages.
Oh yes, the cages. Who wants to tell her?
Of the of nearly 70,000 people in ICE custody right now, less than, I believe, 10% have criminal convictions.
She might believe that, but she's wrong. According to analysis of ICE data from late 2025, 30% of detainees are convicted criminals, and 30% have pending criminal charges. And of course, Abby Phillip lets her slide. But when Scott Jennings reads directly from a federal government press release, all hell breaks loose.
Any idea how many people ICE has arrested and removed from Minneapolis in the last 5 weeks? 2,500. Rapists, murderers, files.
How many?
Gang members.
How many of the 2,500 were rapists, murderers?
Over 2,500.
That's arrest. I don't
No,
think
that's total arrest.
The reason, you have the worst of the worst.
Scott, that's
being
not the
removed.
number of all of those types of people.
So Scott Jennings was reading from this press release from U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, where Director Todd Lyons is quoted as saying, "We've arrested over 2,500 criminal illegal aliens in Minnesota since starting this operation with DHS. And part of the legal definition of a criminal illegal alien is someone who has been convicted of a felony or 2 or more misdemeanors."
2,500 people have conviction records for those particular offenses.
It's inaccurate. And I honestly, Scott, when I say it's a lie or I'm saying someone is a liar, it is not meant to be an insult. It is when you say things like that, it's just not true.
Tiffany and the rest of the leftists in the room are 100% sure that Scott is lying, even though he is reading from an official press release. Tiffany, on the other hand, is reading from the book of whatever I feel like is true right now. And Abby Phillip? Silent. Because apparently, facts become disinformation when a Republican reads them out loud. So Scott Jennings reads from a press release and the panel goes apeshit. But when Tiffany goes into conspiracy theory mode, it's right this way, Miss Cross.
I'm curious how many Proud Boys are on the payroll at ICE. They are casting a wide net of deplorable people who hold certain ideological beliefs, people who have Nazi tattoos on their necks. and descending them on American cities. And it's costing local
Let me let Scott
municipalities
respond.
millions of dollars.
This is Blue Anon conspiracy theory fan fiction. She's accusing federal agents of being secret neo-Nazis based on absolutely nothing. And again, notice how no one stops the show to ask for a shred of evidence. Apparently, trust me, bro, is good enough for CNN's producers.
Scott,
Respond to what?
what she just said.
Oh, you're worried about tattoos like the guy that's going to win the Maine Senate primary with the
Here
Nazi
we go.
tattoos?
Let's deflect.
So Tiffany Cross wants to accuse law enforcement of having Nazi tattoos, but she has no problem when it's the top Democrat Senate candidate in Maine, Graham Plattner. But it's okay, because he was drunk when he got his Nazi tattoo 20 years ago, and now he's covered it up. It's like it never existed.
Like, let's
I'm asking,
focus
if you're worried
on-
about tattoos,
but
I'm just
let's
asking
talk
what you're
about
worried
what's
Were you
happening
listening
in
to what she
America.
said?
Yeah, I'm not going to respond to ad hominem attacks on 70 million Americans who decided to vote Republican in the November 2024 election. I don't think it's right. You come out here, you call people liars, you call anybody who votes Republican, you say they don't have a moral compass. I mean, I
didn't say anybody who votes Republican. I said the people who voted for Donald Trump.
I don't feel like I have to respond to these attacks. In fact, I think you ought to ask her if she really believes 70 million people lack a moral compass.
I believe people who saw what Trump did and voted for him lack a moral compass.
And I can guarantee that if Scott Jennings said that about Kamala Harris voters, Abby Phillip would have immediately started badgering him. You don't actually believe that, Scott. But when Tiffany Cross spits in the face of half the electorate, Abby Phillip just sits there like she's watching paint dry. This is CNN, the most trusted name in gaslighting. Anyway, that's it for now. Head over to my super cool new merch store at don'twalkrun.shop. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for subscribing, and I hope to see you next time. If there is a next time.